Hi, I'm Oscar Hillstrom, and welcome to the Sci-Fi Show. This week it's Sci-Fi 7. No matter how much you hate George Lucas and the scab picking that's going on in the Star Wars Blu-ray Complete Saga box set, we do have to remember that the Star Wars films are in fact particularly awesome and have had an enormous effect on not just filmmaking, but, you know, everybody. So now, our first Sci-Fi 7, the 7 wonders that wouldn't be without Star Wars. Number 7, Industrial Light and Magic. Industrial Light and Magic was created by George Lucas expressly to make the special effects for Star Wars. Without Star Wars, there would be no Industrial Light and Magic, and the special effects industry as we know it today would just not exist. The idea of somebody reviewing a film and saying, oh, it's special effects heavy, meaning it's utter crap, didn't exist until George Lucas and the ILM team came along. Number 6, Pixar. ILM was created to make special effects. Pixar was created for CGI, computer-generated imagery. The very first was seen in Star Wars, and of course they've gone on to create an incredible array of movies. Can you imagine a world without Pixar? No, I cannot. Number 5, Harrison Ford. That's right.
I was doing a lot of carpentry work. The last day I was working, last night I was working, I worked late to finish it. And at 8:30 in the morning, George Lucas walked in to begin to cast Star Wars. And he comes with Richard Dreyfuss.
For what role? Because there's not any role that I can think of him playing that wouldn't be a Saturday Night Live sketch. You? He was going to be Han Solo?
I assume he wasn't going to be Alec Guinness. It turned out to be a bit of serendipity because I wasn't given an interview for it, but later on Fred Roos asked me if I would read with all of the people who were reading for the parts in Star Wars.
So you're reading all day and they say, hey, wait a minute. They move the camera over and they say, this guy's pretty good with this stuff.
And all we have to do is pay him $1 more an hour than
That's right.
what he's getting.
That's right. Without Harrison Ford helping out his mate George Lucas doing the auditions for Star Wars, we wouldn't have Han Solo, nor would we have Indiana Jones the way we know it today. We'd obviously have Tom Selleck, and who knows, we may even have Christopher Walken as Han Solo, which is kind of freaky and a bit disturbing.
You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon, right? It's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. She's fast enough for you, old man. That sucked. I'm sorry. I need a minute. Damn it. You know, I had it.
Number 4, Battlestar Galactica. Think about it. Glenn A. Larson's wonderful creation, which was in fact a complete rip-off of Star Wars on the telly, became a household name during the 80s, but then in 2003 was remade by Ron Moore and Michael Reimer and became a cause célèbre for every geek saying, you know what, sci-fi is good, sci-fi is awesome. Please, whenever you think of Battlestar Galactica, think of George Lucas. Number 3, toys. Yes, we all know that George made his bazillions on the merchandising rights for Star Wars, but it made a fundamental shift in the way movies are sold, not just to you and me, but to kids. Every time you go into a Kmart or Walmart or any kind of mart and find hundreds of thousands of toys related to films, you have to thank George Lucas for that. I don't know whether you have to thank him for it. It's kind of like, thanks for Jar Jar Binks. But at the same time, if you've ever picked up one of those awesome Star Wars lightsabers, or perhaps packed in a couple too many minifigs into your Lego Super Destroyer, then you can thank George Lucas for that. Number 2, without Star Wars, there'd be no Star Trek. What? What are you saying? Star Trek was created in the 60s. What are you talking about? Look, in 1967, Star Trek died a horrible death on network television.
He's dead.
In 1977, Star Wars' magnificent box office saw a struggling Star Trek make it to the big screen. What followed? An entire film franchise and an incredible array of 4 spin-off television shows, including, obviously, Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and Enterprise. So, without Star Wars, there would be no Star Trek as we know it today. Can you imagine?
Star Wars was special effects. Was ILM at its best. First of all, Star Wars is derivative of Star Trek. By, what, 10, 15, 20 years, something, whatever it was. Derivative. Look at that. I've just discovered something. Not only was the television show more humane and dealt with more human principles and things like that than Star Wars, but now Star Trek has got even more special effects than Star Wars. So Star Wars has nothing to stand on.
Number one, mega business. Star Wars wasn't just a cultural phenomenon, it was a business phenomenon. The blockbusters of the ilk of Jaws and Star Wars didn't really exist before that time. Movies as big as, say, Gone with the Wind were released one cinema at a time, a couple of cinemas, and then eventually filtered out across America and then to the world. The whole idea of putting thousands of the same movie on all the time at exactly the same time across America and across the world really didn't exist before Star Wars. The huge profits made by Star Wars allowed cinema owners to transform their cinemas into multiplexes. The multiplexes then allowed people like Miramax to exist because they needed lots and lots of little movies to fill all those little cinemas. And that's how the entire industry was reshaped by Star Wars. It's quite an incredible achievement. Now, on a closing note, obviously all these wonderful things have come about because of Star Wars, and without Star Wars they just simply wouldn't exist, or at least wouldn't exist in the same way. But always remember, to every Star Wars experience there's always the dark side. There's a whole generation of people who grew up seeing Han shooting Greedo first. I mean, if you're a smuggler and a bounty hunter comes up to you, you're going to shoot the guy in the eye, especially a big fat eye like that. Now, by giving you that option and starting to confuse the thing even further, there's a whole generation of kids growing up thinking, Han's not so bad. He's a good guy. He always waits till the guy tries to shoot him point blank and then shoots him. That's dumb. That's just silly. And I think that's why people get upset by these revisions. Not that they don't work or they're, kind of part of George's idea for his film. It's that most of the time they just suck. It's infuriating because the movies are cherished for a reason, because they're pretty goddamn good. So please, leave it alone. Get away from it.
It's not too late to do what's right. Give us the print. There's still some good in you, Mr. Lucas. We know there is. When an artist creates, whatever they create belongs to society.
Still, thanks, George, for all your hard work, and thanks to all the Star Wars team. Thank you so much.
Wenn Sie, meine Herren, glauben, dass ich deswegen Berlin verlasse, irren Sie sich gewaltig. Eher jage ich mir eine Kugel durch den Kopf. Tun Sie, was Sie wollen.